ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सूर्यो यथा सर्वलोकस्य चक्षुः
सूर्यो यथा सर्वलोकस्य
लोकस्य
चक्षुः
चक्षुः
न लिप्यते चाक्षुषैर्बाह्यदोषैः
न
न
लिप्यते
लिप्यते
चाक्षुषैर्बाह्यदोषैः
चाक्षुषैर्बाह्यदोषैः
एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा
एकस्तथा
एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा
सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा
न लिप्यते लोकदुःखेन बाह्यः।
न
न
न
लिप्यते
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 लोकदुःखेन
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 बाह्य।
बाह्यः।
The one Surya in our system, in our solar system, there's only one Surya. Thank God there's only one Surya. Otherwise, there's a lot of confusion. We don't know what is day, what is night. One Surya. And in our scriptures, Surya is given a very important place. Because Surya we see at three levels. At the elementary level, Surya is what sustains life, what gives life, what sustains life. Physically, without Surya, there can be no life on earth. Or with multiple Suryas also, there probably will not be any life left. Because of the Surya, there is a lot of these diurnal cycles, and we have the cycles of waking, dream, and sleep. Although some people sleep also in the daytime, okay. I find a lot of young people tend to sleep in the daytime and keep waking up till late at night. That's not the way it's supposed to be. In the old days, when there was no artificial lighting other than candle or at best kerosene lamps, everything had to be worn down by sundown. After that, rest time. And just before the sunrise, everything restarts. Now the whole cycle got disturbed. I've also done that. I have to confess. Particularly in college days, we would study through the night. And then whenever we can find some time, sleep during the day. All of us have done that. But correct cycle is after the sundown is tamasic time. And the whole sattvic time restarts just prior to the sunrise. In fact, sunrise is such a wonderful point. If you have studied Gitanjali, our only Nobel Prize winner, Rabindranath Tagore, he has a verse in the really beautiful verse. He says, if you look at the birds, they start chirping before the sun actually comes up. It's hope. They know that sun will come up. Indication is already there. And therefore they start chirping well before that. That's supposed to be the best time in the day. The sattvic time when most creative work should get done. So at one level it is the sun, as we know it, the physical sun, which provides light and heat, very basic elements for our existence, and just the right range of temperature. People in Iceland may not agree with me. They live in very cold conditions, but enough for human beings to adapt to. Anything colder than that will probably become difficult to adapt to. And people in sub-Saharan Africa adapt themselves to very high temperatures. But anything higher than that will probably create more problems. So just the right range of temperatures. That is one level of sun. At the next level, we think of sun as the preceding deity, not the physical sun, but Aditya Devata. At that another level where we look at the samashti of all sight as Surya Devata or Aditya Devata. At the highest level, sun is seen as compared to knowledge, the remover of darkness. So in something like a Gayatri mantra, also called Savituhu mantra, which is on sun, you can, depending upon one's level of understanding, one can understand at the very basic level, at the level of Devata, and at the level of Ishvara also. The sun for us in our scriptures is an extremely important element. That is the example used here. One sun which lights up everything on the earth. Lights up the ugly, lights up the adharmic, lights up the beautiful, lights up the dharmic as well. But sun itself remains unattached. Just because it is lighting up a set of terrorists, they also need that light and the heat from the sun. And sun, without any prejudice, gives them also the same. But the sun does not seem to be affected by it in any way. The terrorists are doing acts that are totally adharmic. Sun says, I only give the light and heat. I am not affected in any way. Nor is it affected the other way around. When people do some really wonderful things, humane things, that also the sun reveals. Unaffected. That is the example being used here. That the sun, which is the very source of life, which gives the heat and light necessary for us, for everybody, good, bad, evil, ugly, dharmic, adharmic, everything, itself unaffected. This is Drishtanta. And Drishtanta has to be, like I keep repeating, has to be in this Jagat, then only we'll understand. In the same way, Atma is present everywhere, in everything, in and through all things. Tangible, intangible, sentient, insentient, small, big, far away, nearby, doesn't matter. And is the witness to all the dukkha in the world. And all the sukha in the world also. No sukha can exist without the Atma, no dukkha can exist without the Atma. And yet is completely asanga, not affected at all. Otherwise, one might think that I, the individual Sharira, has an Atma, and if I am affected, if I am Dukhi, Atma is also Dukhi, because I am Atma. And if that Atma is one Atma for everybody, then it must be super Dukhi. No. Atma is one which is unaffected. A beautiful mantra. We saw this yesterday. Yata Surya Sarva Prakasha Sarva Lokasya Chakshuhu, but unaffected. Bhashya doshahi nalpyate. Chakshusha doshahi nalpyate. Not the physical, not psychologically, not in any way is the sun affected. Same way, tatha sarvabhutantaratma ekah tadapi loka dukkhena nilipyate. Not subject to any form of dukkha. Now, you can connect it now. Samsara means a sense of being subject to dukkha. This is samsara. When the knowledge arises clearly, tattvataha, aparokshataya, that aham brahmasmi, then aham is not subject to being dukhi. Arjuna had the same problem we have seen. Narada had the same problem when he went to Sanat Kumara. Narada knew everything. He studied all the Vedas, all the Vedangas, all the Upavedas, everything he studied. And yet he went to Sanat Kumara saying, I know so much, why am I still subject to being dukhi? Because I don't recognize myself. And that is the lesson that Sant Kumara gives him. That's the lesson that Bhagavan gives to Arjuna. Ashvachyan anvashvachastvam. This Atma loka dukkhena doshena na lipyate. Paramatma aham dukhi nasti. Nasmi. Why do I feel dukhi? My own ignorance. About what? About what I is. Starting point itself is wrong. The moment I relook at I, all dukkhas, cause for dukkhas are gone. No samsara. Bhashyakara explains this. All dukkhas of samsara we sense. I, as an individual, sense the dukkha, physical dukkha, emotional dukkha, all kinds of dukkha. That's why in this process of learning, at the lower level, we have to figure out how to not be affected by it extremely. Not become a yo-yo-like, become extremely exultant when there's sukha and extremely depressed when there's dukkha. This is all preparation. Why does Shastra tell us you need to have adhikaritvam, samatvam, karma yoga. So on an apekshika level, we're able to deal with dukkha or sukha with certain tranquility. Becomes the ground for us to understand that I am not subject to any dukkha. I am asangaha. Acharya brings it up beautifully. We will read. सूर्यः यथा चक्षुषः आलोकेन
यथा चक्षुष
आलोकेन
उपकारं कुर्वन्
उपकारं कुर्वन्
मूत्रपुरीषादि अशुचिः प्रकाशनेन
मूत्रपुरीषाद्य शुचि प्रकाशनेन
तद्दर्शिनः
तद्दर्शिनः
सर्वलोकस्य चक्षुः अपि सन्
सर्वस्य चक्षुरपि सन्
न लिप्यते चाक्षुषैः.
न लिप्यते चाक्षुषैः.
A statement expanding what said in the Shastra, in the mantra. Ekasthatha sarvabhutantaratma na lipyate loka dukkhena bahyah. All the dukkhas that are there, unaffected. Atma is unaffected. Suryaha yatha chakshushaha alokena upakaram kurvan. Without the Surya, any sight is not possible. So to be able to see things, Surya becomes the necessary condition. Ya Surya yatha chakshusha alokena upakaram kurvan, being the helper for making sure that we can see everything, good and the bad. In this loka, the eyes can see everything because of the sun. Being that position of a helper to the eyes, it says, upakaram kurvan, mutra purishadi ashuchihi prakashanena. There are all kinds of things in this earth. We see it all around us. Some of them affect us physically. Some of them affect us mentally or psychologically. Some of them can lead to papa if you see a dosha being committed and you're not able to do anything about it. In the first place, it will lead to a certain amount of unrest within, certain guilt within. Why did I not do anything to prevent this adharma happening? What is my role? So all kind of ashuchi we see around us. Alokena upakaram karmana mutra purishadi ashuchihi prakashanena tad darshinaha sarvalokasya chakshuhu api san na lipyate chakshushehi. See all of that. Sun is there and makes the eyes see everything. At the level of the individual, it affects me immediately because I'm a samsari. But does it affect the sun? Don't forget, because of what the sun does, he says, Sarvalokasya chakshuhu. It is the very eyesight for the entire Jagat. It is the samashti. If because of my individual eyesight, I get affected by seeing ashuchi, That samashti should have some of all these ashuchi and some of all the reactions of ashuchi. Because it is sarvalokasya chakruhu. Sarvalokasya chakruhu api sanna na lipyate chakrushaihi. This, at a physical level, there is, let's say, slime in the road when you're walking. And although you see it, you're not able to stop yourself and put your foot in that. You get dirtied. What can you do? Does the sun get affected? No. You at an individual level, yes, there is affected by this dukkha act. Sun is not affected. Despite being sarvalokasya chakruhe api san, na lipyate chakshushaihi. Chakshushaihi tadita. Chakshus is the pratipadikam. Chakshushaihi. Of what happens from the chakshus. Sun is unaffected. Ashuchyadi darshan, three this. Ashuchyadi darshan nimittaihi.
darshan nimittaihi.
Adhyatmikaihi.
Adhyatmikaihi.
Papadoshaihi.
Papadosaihi.
Bahyescha ashuchyadi samsarga dosha. He is explaining what is chakshushaihi. What is the thing that happens as a result of this dukkha vastu, dosha, which eye sees, and therefore we assume that the sun which backs the eye also sees. Chakshushaihi ashuchyadi darshan nimittaihi adhyatmikaihi papadoshaihi. One is at a physical level we get because of ashuchi affects us. Yes, sometimes you get this ashuchi and you get a sense of disgust. It could be something like, sometimes I'm finding this, our area earlier had hardly any shops selling meat. It is increasingly becoming more. On a Sunday, you can hardly walk in the streets. The fish shops, there are guys who are cooking meat. The very sight is abhorrent. You feel, why is humanity doing this? What are we doing to ourselves? Clearly, this is going to lead to deadly consequences. There will be consequences leading to humans killing each other, hurting each other. Despite the government's great effort for Swachh Bharat, one of the areas where we are still way, way, way behind where we should be. I still see people going in big cars, throwing packets out of the car on the road. How can you be calling yourself a developed nation? You might have economic wealth, but till that is, this ashuchi is looked at. That's why everybody should do achamaniyam. Be taught to do achamaniyam. Chudaya namaha, anantaya namaha, govindaya namaha. Apavitra pavitro va sarvavastha gato piva. Yasmaret pundarikaksham bahyapyantaram shuchihi. help me gain Shuchi internally and externally. Vahyabhyantaram Shuchi. We all need that. We all need that as a samashti prayer for the entire society. Because we are so not yet at a place where we understand Ashuchi. We are affected. Individually, people are affected. Some people don't seem to be affected. Maybe they're like the sun. But we are affected. As a society, we are affected. Ashuchyadi darshana nimittaihi adhyatmikaihi papadoshaihi. Sometimes it's a papadosha. Like I said, when you see Ashuchi in the form of adharma and don't do anything about it, that's also papa. Papa has been committed. You can see sometimes, when I was a child, I used to live in Delhi. There was an area called Bull Market. Those who've been in Delhi would know this. And they were all meat shops. As children, we found it very difficult to walk around that area. In front of you, they would kill animals. They would wring the neck of chicken. Papa karma. And you are witness to the papa karma. Some papa will stick to you. Like some people argue, I eat meat and chicken, but I don't kill them. You may not kill them. You're the nimitta. Because you eat, somebody kills them. Therefore, some of the papa comes to you also. This papa dosha of all forms of ashuchi does not affect the sun. Sees all this ashuchi, makes us see all this ashuchi. Sun is unaffected. But saying bahyaisha ashuchyadi samsarga doshaihi. This is dosha by association, samsarga dosha. Including being witness to something and not doing anything about it. Including being the cause for the papa to be committed. These papa doshai, bahyaisha, ashuchyadi, samsarga doshai. Sun is unaffected by any of them. Sun is the cause for the sight. It is sarvalokasya chakshuhu. But asangaha. In the same way, he says, Ekaha san
एकः सन्
tatha
तथा
sarvabhutantaratma
सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा
lipyate loka dukkhena bahyah.
न लिप्यते
लोकदुःखेन
लोकदुःखेन
बाह्यः.
Atma is another order of reality. Whatever is happening here, see, the sun example tells us it's a possibility. Examples are very good for us to understand that such a thing is possible. That's one way of looking at it. How do you say that Atma is unaffected? I started with the doubt saying that Atma is there in every being, and every being has dosha and papa. Atma should have collection of all the doshas and papas. How do you say it's not there? That is the question. But the Shastra clearly says, Ekaha san tatha, as the sun, which is also this eyesight for the entire world, is not affected. In the same way, tatha ekaha san sarva bhutantaratma, this same atma, undivided atma, ekaha san, in every being, let us say perceptible, palpable in every being, na lipyate, is not affected loka dukkhena. Why is it not affected loka dukkhena? Sun is an example. Despite being sarva bhutasya chakruhu, it is unaffected by any dosha which is chakshushahi. Atma being the very cause for everything, all beings which are subject to dukkha, is not subject to dukkha. It is not that it is the subject to collection of all the dukkha. It is simply not affected at all. It is not there. Why? There's one single word there. Bahyaha. In this context, Bahyaha literally means external to it. Okay? But Bahyaha in this context should be read as transcending. I remember many years ago, somebody came up with a trademark. You put a TM on that, okay? Transcendental meditation. This must have been about 50 years ago. So I went and looked up the word transcend in the dictionary. Something like exceed everything that is possible. Transcend. I mean, we all know the meaning, but I went to look in dictionary at that time. I remember to look at what does that word actually, what does the dictionary say about that word? This bahya can be translated as transcend. Transcend means this is not in the same order at all. It is a different order. Like waking is a different order from sleeping, from dreaming. A dream world you create and create out of your knowledge acquired in the waking state. It is the same knowledge which gets projected as a complete swapna prapancham, with its own time, with its own space, with its own everything. Karyakarana Sanghata. And itself is unaffected by anything that happens in the dream. You don't get any additional plus in the brain or in the knowledge or anything less. Dream is a completely different order of reality. You don't even, in this form, then the waking state, you have the knowledge, does not even exist in that form in the dream. Projected as another completely different order of reality. Thank God we have this, and everybody has this common experience of dream, so we can understand when we say it is a different order of reality. Bahya. Atma is a different order of reality. Then why do I then talk about all this Jagat? One of the methods that Shastra uses to teach us, Adhyaropa Apavada. You accept the world to begin with. You accept all the sukha dukkha of the world. You accept samsara. With an explanation. This is the model. This is the way it is. What you're doing actually is, since there is ultimately only one Ekameva Advitiya Brahman, you are accepting for the moment an Adhyaropa. And once we begin to understand, then Shastra takes, this is why Guru is so important. Takes us to the next level of saying, okay, now we got it. This is how the world is. Okay, now there's no world. No Jagat. Now, straight away, if somebody comes to the Guru and says, teach me, and says, there's no Jagat, he will say, what are you talking about? Therefore, first you do Adhyaropa, then you negate it. Apavad. Bahishcha. Bahihi. It is not in the same order of reality. So whatever happens there, dukkha, sukha, pukha, whatever happens, not concerned with that. Just like the sun is not concerned about whether what it lights up is dharmic or adharmic. It doesn't care. Now we understand when I say that this jnanam, which is Atma, Satyam Jnanam, Anantam Brahma, that jnanam actually reveals in the samsara both jnanam and ajnanam. This jnanam we are talking about is not the jnanam that I talk about in the samsara as the jnanam of objects, against which I can have ajnanam. This jnanam is Brahman, Atma, whose very presence is required to both for ajnanam and for jnanam. So all of them belong to samsara. That jnanam of the waker is required to see the jnanam and ajnanam in your dream. You have people who are extremely high IQ, highly knowledgeable people, and people who are duds in your own dream. What reveals the jnanam and ajnanam? The jna dhaturtha in this case. That which reveals everything. Good, bad, knowledge, ignorance, everything. Because it is Bahya. This Atma is Bahya. Acharya takes up the word. Why do you say that this is unaffected by all the dukkha in the world? Bahya. And what is the Bahya? He writes a lot about that. Loko hi
Loko
हि
avidyaya swatmani adhyastaya
विद्यया आत्मनि
विद्या स्वात्मनि अध्यस्तया
kama karmodbhavam dukkham anubhavati
काम
कामकर्मोद्भवं
कर्मोद्भवं
दुःखम्
दुःखम्
अनुभवति
अनुभवति
natu sa paramartha
न तु सा
paramartha swatmani
सा
paramartha swatmani.
परमार्थः स्वात्मनि
स्वात्मनि
Takes a statement first. A prajna says, Lokaha hi avidyaya swatmani adhyastaya kama karmodbhavam dukkham anubhavati. Let us look at Lokaha, people. Dukkham anubhavati. That is the sentence. Lokaha dukkham anubhavati. People experience dukkha. Where does the dukkha come from? Avidyaya. Avidyaya, because of our own non-understanding, swatmani adhyasthaya, on me, on the I superimpose. Adhyaropam karomi. Swatmani adhyasthaya, where does the dukkham come from? I see it because of my avidya. Because of my avidya, what do I do? Kama. Why is it? Why does avidya lead to kama? What is the vidya? What is the knowledge? Knowledge is one of aham purnaha, purnatvam. If I had this knowledge, if I was clear about this knowledge, if my aparoksha jnanam of I is purnatvam, why would I have any kama? Why would anybody have a desire? That desire happens, and to fulfill the desire, you do karma. So in this combination of kama karma, tat udbhavam never leads to complete sukha. If the kama is satisfied, do I end up having sukhi? Temporarily, maybe. Then what happens? Either I want more of the same or something else. The I want, the kama will never go away because of vidya. Therefore, more karma. And if it doesn't get satisfied, at some point in time, it will not get satisfied, dukkha. So, tad udbhavam dukkham anubhavati. This is our process in the jagat. Loke. Lokaha. Lokaha in this case. Lokaha, people, dukkham anubhavati because of avidya by superimposing everything in the samsara on the I. But in reality, natu sa paramarthata swatmani. But if you understand the reality, in reality, this is not so. Swatmani paramarthataha natu sa. In reality, paramarthataha, this dukkha has nothing to do with I. It has only to do with my erroneous understanding of I. Natu sa paramarthataha swatmani. Having said this, Bhashyakara goes into some detailed explanation using several examples. See, Drishtanta can do several things. One of the most important things it does is, because we are trying to study something which is not samsari, we have to have Drishtanta. Before that, because of studying something which is not is asansari, it leads to a lot of paradox. It is there, it is not there. A lot of this we've seen already. How to understand that? How to understand that Tattvamasi Vakya? Everything here is nothing but Ishvara. Ishvara is none of them. Everything here is nothing but I. I am none of them. How do you understand something like this? There we have to have Drishtanta. That Drishtanta, all it does is makes it possible for the mind to think that it is possible. Such a thing is possible. After that, I still have to work on it. After that, I still have to study Vedanta and try and understand what the Vivaksha of Vedanta is. So, Bhashyakara takes up 4 examples, which have been more commonly seen. Shastra itself uses only Ghata and Mrit, and several other things, gold ornaments and gold, etc. But Bhashyakara takes up 4 Drishtanta. Yatha Rajju Shukti Koshara Gaganeshu
Rajjushu
Shukti
Kosha
Gaganeshu
Sarpa Rajatodaka Malani
Sarpa
Sarpa
Rajato
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 Kamalagita
Malani
Na Rajvadini Svato Dosha Rupani Santi.
Narajvadinam
Narajvadinam
Swato
Svato
Rosha
Dosha
Rupani
Rupani
Pani Santi.
Santi.
Let's stop here. Yatha Rajju Shukti Koshara Gaganeshu. All in Saptami. Gaganeshu. Bhavachanam. Of what all? Rajju cha, Shuktika cha, Ushara cha, Gaganaha cha, Gaganam. In all of these, what are these? Rajju is rope, our standard example. Shuktika, shell, mother of pearl. Ushara is desert. Gagana is sky. Rajju, Shuktika, Ushara, Gagana, Teshu. Shaktika cha, Rajju cha, Rajjuscha, Shuktikascha, Usharascha, Gaganascha, Teshu. In all of them, or on all of them, whichever you want, Sarpa, Rajata, Udaka, Malani, we superimpose on them what? The Sarpa on the Rajju. There is no Sarpa. It is our own creation. Similarly, Rajata. Rajata was silver. We see silver in the mother of pearl shrines. There is no silver. Udaka, water on the desert. Desert not wet, it's still dry. But we see water where there's no water. And Malani, impurities in the sky. Atasmin tad buddhi. That which is not there, we say it is there. Atasmin tad buddhi. And with this superimposition, it creates reaction. It might create a reaction of aversion. Like, for example, the snake. Or a desire, run to it. Oh, I got some silver. There's no silver, only shell. Or water, when one is parched on the desert. I saw some, I can see some water. Run, 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 run. Keep running, you'll never get that water. And sky, you see impurity. There's no impurity. The sky is unaffected. There's no impurity on that. So these four examples, it says, Yatha, just like Rajju, Shuktika, Ushara, Gaganeshu, Sarpa, Rajata, Udaka, Malani, all these are superimposed. Na Rajvadini Swataha Dosha Rupani Santi. There's nothing on them. Rajvadi, Rajju Adi. They are the Adhisthana. But we superimpose all the qualities of each one of these, of the snake, of the silver, of water, hoping that it will quench your thirst, and of mala. But in them there is nothing. There is no snake in the throat. There is no silver in the shell. There is no water in that desert where you're looking for water. There's no dirt in the sky. So, swataha na rajvadi swataha dosha rupani santi. These are not there in that. I mean, giving the example just to show how is it possible that if Atma is everywhere, every being the Atma is there, then all the dukkha of all the beings must be collectively experienced by Atma. That is the assumption. Says no. Look at these examples. Swataha dosha rupani na santi. Then what? Samsargini
Samsargini.
viparita buddhi adhyasa nimitat. No, you read it it's one compound. Viparita buddhadhyasa nimittat.
Buddhya niparita
Viparita
buddhya dhyasa nimittat.
Right. Tad doshavat
Tad doshavat
vibhavyante
vibhavyante
tad doshaihi
tad doshaihi
esham lepaha.
tesham lepaha.
Because of the association, samsargini, the wrong thinking, viparita buddhya adhyasa nimittat. Viparita buddhi adhyasa nimittat. My false thinking, by false thought, by association, we superimpose the dosha on something that does not have the dosha. We superimpose the qualities of the snake on the rope. In the same way, we only, because of our avidya, superimposing all the dosha and all the dukkha of the samsara on I. Samsargini viparita buddhi adhyasa nimittat tad doshavat vibhavyante is considered, is seen. Na dosha hi tesham lepaha. Those doshas don't affect it. The any qualities of the sarpa does not affect the rope. It remains what it is. But we, through association, we assume that rope to have the qualities of the sarpa, although there is no sarpa. In the same way, we, through association, take all the dukkhas of the jagat and say it is I. These tad doshahi tesham na lepaha. They do not touch the adhisthana. There is no effect on the adhisthana. That remains unchanging. You will see how it builds it in the next mantra also. We will see that. Why is that? Very interesting. Viparita buddhi adhyasa bahya hi te.
Viparita
buddhi
buddhi adhyasa bahya hite.
Here also, there are two levels of reality. One level of reality is, let's call it vyavaharika. The rope, the shell, the desert, and what is the fourth one? Gagan. They are all vyavaharika. They are Ishvara system. They are one order of reality. On that, what do? We do adhyasa on them. Our own shrishti. It's a different order of reality. That is vyavaharika satyam. This is pratibhasika satyam. Our creation. On Ishvara creation, we superimpose something else. And we get fooled into thinking that that is a snake. This is viparita buddhi adhyasa bahya hite. They belong to another order of reality. They are bahya. The rope belongs to a different order of reality, the vyavaharika reality. The snake belongs to another order of reality, which is a pratibhasika reality. The vyavaharika reality is, relatively speaking, superior, is not affected by the lower order of reality. So this whole paragraph is written only for the one word, bahya. How do you say that Atma is unaffected? Through these drishtantas, saying that each of these, even in our own understanding, we have fortunately different levels of order of reality. One, we know Swapna and Jagrat, two different orders of reality. Here we have another set, which is one order of reality of Vyavaharika Satyam, and below that another order of reality is a Pratibhasika Satyam. That whatever happened, the Pratibhasika Satyam does not affect the Vyavaharika, which is relatively superior. Then he goes on to say, now we understand that it is possible. In the same way, Atma is Paramarthika Satyam, Everything else we experience is Vyavaharika Satyam, at best. Therefore, there also what happens is, in the Vyavaharika, in the Vyavahara, we have all these dukkha. None can affect Atma because it's Bahya. It transcends. We will talk about this in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.
Hari Om Sri Guru
Pranam Guruji.
Hari Om.
एवं स्वामी
Pranam
धन्यवादः
Guruji.
नमस्कारः पुनः मिलामः
Om Swamiji.
Om Swamiji.
ओम स्वामी जी धन्यवाद।